We've got another one in. Story behind this bus. When it first came in, I thought it was a 102C3, but it's not. It's actually a 102 DL3. And you're like, well, who cares, Brandon? There's plenty of D coaches. And you would be right. There are plenty of D coaches. What makes this bus unique is it has an 8V92. D-Deck 2, 8V92. They did not build a lot of MCI DL3s with an 8V92 in it. Most of the DL coaches in 1994 came out with Series 60s. There were some D coaches in 92 and 93. There were some, and that's where probably this falls in line right here. This is a 93 most likely. AV92s, there weren't very many of them. There are hundreds and thousands of DLs with Series 60s in them. So anyway, that's pretty cool. This is a custom coach. Supposedly, Richard Petty owned it. I don't know if that's true or not. So it's kind of cool. I love a custom coach, I'm not gonna lie. They just had a unique way of building things. Now, I don't think the interior is still the way Custom Coach did it. I think somebody else ripped it out and did some other stuff, but it's a pretty cool bus. The unique thing about an 8V92 and a bus this new is it's got a little bit of both worlds. So it is electronic because it's a D-Deck 2. Here's the D-Deck 2. But it's still mechanical for operating a lot of the stuff. So here is your shutter stats. So those open and close these shutters back here for temperature. And then you've got your fan clutch. So this engine may or may not control those fans via the ECM. It may still be using these mechanical. We'll have to look and see if it is and check to make sure everything's working properly. So speed density, these ECUs are not very smart. They can monitor live data like oil pressure, low coolant. They basically go, are we full of coolant? Yes, we'll allow the engine to run. Do we have oil pressure? Yes, we allow the engine to run. Do we have simple items? Yes, okay, perfect. But what they cannot do is they cannot determine fuel ratios or control on the fly, which example would be, if I started this engine up and it was running, it would run great. If I walked up and took a knife and cut the charge air cooler pipe off, the engine would still run. It would start puffing smoke. It wouldn't run very fast. There would be no check engine light because it has no idea that I just cut off its boost supply. It doesn't know that. Your turbo completely goes bad. It doesn't know that. It can't figure that information out. It's going to pump the same amount of fuel in it according to whatever fuel chart it has. It's going to say, at this RPM, under this amount of load, I should be using this much fuel, which makes them inefficient, okay? So when we go to DDAC 3, DDAC 4, DDAC 5, and where we are today, engines learn on the fly. They use various sensors. Over the years, they've gotten more complicated. Whether you like it or not, it's a fact of the vehicle industry. So they say, all right, we have an intake air temperature of 100 degrees. We have boost of 15 degrees. Our coolant temperature is 195 degrees. Our barometric pressure sensor says we are in this much elevation. So we should be pumping this amount of fuel at this load and at this RPM. That's what newer engines do. That's why they start better. That's why they burn less fuel, and they tend to be more reliable. Because a Series 60 can interpret data on the fly is one of the reasons why they last. In my opinion, they are the best bus engine you can get. Series 60, a 12.7, even a 14-liter, million-mile engine all day long. They are perfect for buses. Cummins, meh. C13s, garbage. The ISXs are decent engines, but nowadays they're overcomplicated. When I got into this industry, I was a kid. So we worked on two-strokes, we worked on 3208s, 3406s, we worked on big cam Cummins with P pumps, injection pumps, your old school IDI power strokes and things like that. That's what I grew up with. The old Detroit made small half-ton pickups. They were not very powerful, but they were reliable. They had the pencil injectors in them and everything like that. So I grew up working on all this stuff since I was a kid. And it's been a pleasure to see how much technology has changed. And what I mean by that is you go from mechanical tune-ups to ingesting the rack to setting Huey injectors in these 8V92s, taking the racks out to running the overhead on a Series 60 and having to data log and having to calibrate injectors and set all these things up to EGR systems and now we're all the way into DD13s, after treatments, SCRs, and junk. The newer stuff is just junk in my opinion. I sound like an old man. Would I say the change is bad? Ugh, I love an 8V92. I love an 8V71. I love a Series 60 engine. I can't say I like a DD13 yet or ever will. I don't like C13 cats. I think they're terrible. The ISM Cummins are okay. ISX Cummins, meh. But nothing sounds like a two-stroke Detroit, and nothing sounds like a Series 60 engine. They just can't be old reliable. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox, but I just think it's an interesting thing to see how technology has changed. I've always been fascinated with the stuff. I love all that stuff. So I've always just, I'm that guy that gets off of work after working on buses all day long and then goes home and watches other people work on buses or trucks or something like that. So let's get back to this bus. Let's do an inspection on this. So another thing that makes this, we got an air leak. I hear it. It's in the back. Another thing that I want to point out is it's got rock wool brakes on the front. That is another not common thing to see on a D coach. And it looks like somebody has greased the crap out of them. Well, at least they're trying to service it. Look at all that grease. And you can see the grease coming out of the fitting up there. You can look at these airbags. They're kind of dry rotted on the front. This one too. Look at those cracks. Front airbags. Front airbags dry rotted. Oh, look at this radius rod bushing. And this one here. Everything else is looking fairly decent. I don't hear any leaks up here. I definitely hear one in the back. You can look at these radius rods. Looks like all the radius rods they've seen better days. Everything else looks pretty clean up here. The leveling valve bushing is rotten too. See that? We'll spray that leveling valve down, because they will leak. It's even got ABS on it. Woo! Look at that. It's got the old Bendix ACOM ABS on it. That's the old school. So Bendix come out with ACOM 2 ABS. They come out with that in the 90s. And it wasn't long after that Meritor came out. Bendix was actually outselling Meritor with their ABS systems. They were more reliable. They were better. There were so many things that Bendix did better than Wabco. So Bendix bought Wabco or Wabco bought Bendix. It was one or the other. I've got a gauge, the RPM gauge, the light doesn't work. Got a lot of switch lights out. Let's see. Yeah. Unless he's got them off. Let's look. Oh, nope. There we go. We got them. Still got a few of them out. So we got them. We got them. It's only been sitting here a few minutes and it's already showing a low air buzzer. But I did hear an air leak in the back, so I assume that's probably why that the air buzzer come on. The other problem with this bus is supposedly it's got a parasitic drain on the batteries. Parasitic draw, I should say. So I need to figure out why. Slow to air up too. I'm slowly raising. So we must have a leak in the accessory system. There it goes. It's like that song, You Lift Me Up. Well, that's what the seat's doing right now. It's lifting me up. That is a problem right there. You see how it says 000? Not reading anything. That is a problem. It's got heat on all the time too. We need to figure that out. Here's my wife bringing me dinner. Maybe. Let me get closer. All right. So we got some cracking in those belts. They definitely need to be fixed. Main drive belt seems to be all right. I think the customer did tell me that he had these other ones replaced, but did not get that other one replaced. Got a little spot right there for the tensioner. The line is coming apart. We got some cracking on these belts right here. See the cracking in there? Alternator belt. Hoses don't feel brittle. This is not the correct pipe right here. Somebody's added that in. It's just not going to hurt anything. We got a little bit of an exhaust leak right here. You see the exhaust coming out around the clamps. We got some more down here. See that black smut? Very important that you get that taken care of on a 92 series, because there'll be a dog if you don't get your exhaust leaks taken care of. So much room because there's no bathroom in it. Wow. We'll see what compressor they got. TrueFlow 750. It is definitely slow airing up though. It's like we may have a power steering leak right there. See that right there? A little bit of a power steering leak. Might just put manifolds on it. So guys, see where it says drain daily? How many of you MCI owners actually drain that daily? Oh, look here, I found the data plate. 1992. It's one of the first ones. It's a DLC3. That's how you know it's a. See that? DL102 DLC3. Looks like they've pulled the motor out at one point. Oh, there you go. Yep, that tells you right there. Right there, that tag says it all. Yep, it's been out. I can't believe they used this bus enough they had to put a reman motor in it. Here's the cord. We're going to plug it in the back. I don't like to see things like this. You see this? This will be, if you're working on your own bus and you walk up and you see stuff like this, see this hose is super hard. You look at that wear spot. That's because that hose sits there and moves like that. It'll eventually rub a hole in the bottom of that hose. So this is an oil line. So that's no bueno there. You want to fix that now while you see it. But you can clearly see, I'll zoom in. You can clearly see where this has been rubbing. That line right there doesn't look the best. But it doesn't look like it's leaking. That transmission line. I don't think this is factory. I don't think Custom Coach did that. I guess if you can't crank it, that's a good ether spot. Pop your cap off. This must have been a Northern bus. Look how bad that pan looks. Man. I mean, I guess it's not leaking, but Lordy, eventually there'd be a pinhole in that joker. And we could see we need a shock. It's broke off. That's the tag bag. Pretty dry rotted. Let's look at the drive axle. We got a bump stop that's split. And you can see this one over there too. Look, all of them are. That one's split. That one's split. The bolt rotted off in it. Overall, just kind of basic sitting up things. A little rusty, but not bad. All that looks good. And you see rust building up around those pins right there. You see that? It usually means they're seized. You need to get up there and make sure they're freed up. Those pins need to be freed up in order to pivot. Like I said, overall we got some bushing. There's this bushing. Not in the best of shape. There's the other shock. Bushing's missing. Alright, so now the air conditioner doesn't work. We got to take a look at that. Look at the corrosion on that pipe. Right there. That don't look good. So you can see they replaced this pan. If you look, you can tell they replaced it because whatever they were sitting on rotted the pan out. And you can look at this flaking right here. Wherever this was parked, whether it was running up north or what the deal is, it rotted it out. So you can see like that, the flaking. Not too bad, not too bad. I'll bring you guys back once we figure out what's wrong with the air conditioner. He says it doesn't work, it doesn't come on. I noticed inside, if you saw the 000, well, it's can't work if it's not displaying what temperature it is and if it thinks the heat needs to be on at all times. So with that being said, that's one thing we got to look at. But next, we need to make sure the system's full of refrigerant. So I'll bring you guys back along when we get to that point. So stay tuned.